Right, students. Good evening. Students who are in the online, am I audible? Okay, good. So now we will go to the another topic. Last but one topic. What is the topic name? Networking. Network programming. Network programming in Python. Network programming in Python. So as on today, this network programming is outdated. But instead of saying completely outdated, when you come to Java, C#.NET, this was available. That also outdated very long back. In Python, also almost outdated, but in some places you may come across this basics. In cyber security frameworks, in sudden cloud communication time, you will come across this networking basics. That's why I am explaining network programming in Python completely. So why it was outdated, I will explain in the class. In place of that, what is available nowadays, sir? Nowadays is called what? Django is available. So this is the topic which is called web framework. But in web development purpose, we use Django. Earlier days, people used to use networking. So that networking programming is useful to you in where? Django level. So this will take 2 days. Today I will cover the concept and the library. Tomorrow I'll go for the programming. Okay. Let us start. What is the index? What is the index? See, students, purpose of networking, purpose of network programming. What is the use of network programming? Definition of network. And next I'm going to tell you client server applications. Client server application, I mean development of client server applications. There I will talk about two-tier applications. I'm going to write the coding on it. And next, three-tier application. Three-tier application will talk about it, followed by programming examples. Right? This I will be explaining with the coding, programming examples. And before that, now I am writing development of server-side application, and next development of client-side application, and steps for development of, I will write. Steps for develop, simple, it's very easy also. And the coding is little interesting. Steps for development of client server application and various definitions which are going to come. And after that, I'll go for what? Module name for development of client and client server applications. Module name for development of client server application. That is called what name, you know, students? Socket module we can call. Socket module. So complete discussion about socket module in detail we discuss. So this is what I'm going to discuss in today. It's very easy, not a difficult. We see up to today here. And tomorrow we'll go for completely programming we will talk. First day concept, second day programming we'll go for it. Let us start discussing about what is networking. So already you are using mobiles and you are using internet. And compared to internet, you are using mobile very much. You may be having knowledge about what? Network. Then not original knowledge, something you know. Tell me, What is the use of network? What is the use of network? Whatever you know about networking, you tell me, that is enough. Whatever you know about networking, you tell me. Come on, don't wait, don't make it wait. Because I have to discuss a lot of things. Introduction to what? Network programming in Python. Introduction to network programming I am going to discuss. What is the use of networking? Vinay Kumar is saying connect globally. Okay. Whatever you say, you just tell me. Instead of sitting quiet and calm, if you answer it, I will listen. Huh? Social networks. Social? Okay. Boys. Huh? Very good. That is correct word. Sharing the data. Sharing the data is the main aim of what? Networking. 20 years back, you see, you want to send the money from your account to another account. What you will do? Compulsory you have to go to where? Bank. Compulsory you have to go to bank. And that to the bank where you have an account. Nowadays, what you will do? Are you going? You are having lot of shareability of the data is there. That shareability of the data is possible by what? Network programming. That's why network programming is so popular in the software field, just because of sharing the data. So what is the use of network programming? To share the data. Come on. The purpose of easy students, if you catch that word, it's more important. The purpose of network programming is that to share the data, between multiple machines which are located, across the universe, or remote missions. Are you able to follow? Remote missions. For that purpose, we are using what kind of facility? Network programming we are using it. In order to write the coding using network programming, what must be established first? Two devices are there. This device is containing some data which I want to share to your device. These two devices must be networked or not? Must have some physical connectivity is required. Getting or not? Some physical connectivity is required. That is known as what? Network. Simple. Suppose this is the SBI head office. Okay. Across the Hyderabad, lot of Hyderabad SBI branches are there. All the branches are connected to what? Head office. Each one is interconnected to each other. Each branch is interconnected to each other. Finally, they are connected with what? Server. Every data, every transaction is happening through what? Server only. So what is this diagram which I wrote roughly? Is called network PIC. What is the network definition? Collection of interconnected computers. These are all called what? Blue in color are called what? Interconnected computers. Connected with what? Server. Connected with the server is called what? Network. What is the network definition? If we want to share the data between multiple machines which are located across the universe or between remote machines, multiple remote machines, if you want to share the data, definitely what must be established, students? Network must be established. What is the definition of network? Carefully listen the concept. Once you know the network, once you know the concept clearly, now programming is easy. Definition of what? Network. No need to have any basic knowledge on networking topic. This is more than enough what I am explaining. Just apply wherever you come across. What is the definition of network? Collection of interconnected. First of all, I will write interconnected, autonomous computers. Autonomous computers means self-starting capability. Autonomous computers connected with what? Server. Connected with a server is called what? Network. Don't tell collection of computers is called a network. Don't think of that. Collection of computers, if I put it in a room, it's not a network. Collection of a network is a collection of interconnected autonomous computers. Connected with the server is called what? Network. Get my point? Yes. So definition of network. Definition of network. The purpose of network programming is that to share the data between multiple machines which are located across the universe or remote machines, or to share the data between multiple remote machines. Instead of writing this word, multiple remote machines which are located across the universe. That is the perfect word. So definition of network. A network is a collection of interconnected autonomous computers connected with the server is called a net. Okay. So we got the definition of network. See students, my dear students, take care. This is an SBI server. It is an SBI server. And across the globe, there are a lot of branch offices are there. There are a lot of branch offices are available. All these branch offices are located to what? Remote machines. These are all remote machines. Everything is connected to what? SBI server. Are you able to get it, my point? So here I am going to take up. Here I am going to take up. These are all called what? Here they are sending the data to this place. It is getting processed it and giving the response back or not. So who is having the more capability here? SBI server. So this is called as what? Server. This is called as what? Client. So in network programming, how many programs we are writing? 2 programs. One is called which program? One more is which program? Server. Take Gmail. You say browser, you will open it. When you are opening the browser on www.gmail.com, what is that request you are making? Getting, it will go to the server. Server will send a response for you. And again, you will go for entering your email ID, password, username, and etc. You will send it. You will get the inbox if it is correct. So that type of transmission is happening between what and what? Client and server. I mean to say, to develop the application in network programming, there must exist how many programs? 2 varieties of programs will exist. One is client, one more is server. So in network programming, how many programs are interacting? 2 programs. One is client program and one more is right. In network programming, slowly I will come to the coding level. In network programming, we develop 2 types of applications. 2 types of applications. 2 types of applications. They are, what is the first one? What is the first one? Come on. Server side program. Server side program. Second one is called what? Client side program. First one is called what? Server side program, and one more is what? Client side program. What is server side program? What is client side program? I want to give you the clarity here. Let me go for client and server side. Client and server side program is known as client server application or client server architecture we can call. There are 2 levels are existing, 2-tier application and 3-tier application. That I will come to the application level. Sir, what is the server side program? What is the client side program? I want to define it. What server side program will do? What client side program will do? I want to give you the definition. Can you tell me now definition? Can you tell me what is a server side program? Take one small example here. Go to the Paint. Online students, try to interact with me. Only few people are interacting. Others are simply sitting idle or not, I don't know. Server side program. This is called a client side program. Try to interact. You'll get more and more clarity. If you don't interact, nothing will come out of that. So here I am writing. What is this program name called? Come on. Client side program. I'm writing. Next, I will write another side is called what server side program. I will write it. Here I am writing server side program. Here I am writing server side. Server side program, this is called. Now I am making a request to what? Server side program. Making a request to the server side program. Server side program will process it and giving the response back to whom? Client side program. If you carefully follow it, here I am going to write it. Client side program will send what? A request. And server side program will give you what here? Response. Response will be given. This type of request and response will be taken place across the network. This will take place across the network. Some physical type of network must be established. Then only communication can take place. Did you understand? This is comes under what type of development? Client server application. This is called tier 1. This is called tier 1. So here I am going to write a tier 1. Next I am going to write it a tier 2. Tier 2. Next is going to be tier 2. And there I am going to write it, students. Further I am going to take up. Here I am going to write it. See, students. There is some database is also existing, students. Some database also will be existing. See, students. There I am going to write it. Some database also will exist. This is comes under Oracle database or MySQL database or whatever it is. Database software. Database software it is. Database software. To this database software, what is existing? The client's server side program will communicate with what? Database. And the database will be processing that request which is coming from the server. And the best example is any results are announced in the internet. You will make a request from your browser client. That request will go to where? Server. And server will communicate to database where results are available. And results will be brought by the server and giving to the browser. So this is going to be getting from here. And here I am going to say, here I am going to write it. So this is comes under tier 3. This is comes under tier 3. Are you able to follow? This is tier 3. Getting my point? So this is known as what? This type of application, if I develop it, is called 3-tier application we can call. Same Django also will follow the same model. So if I teach at Python level and other things will become easy once they teach in the Django level. So here how many layers are there in my program? How many are there in my program? 3 layers are there. Combined together is one application only. It is known as what? 3-tier application we can call. If I have only these 2 layers are there, it is called what? 2-tier application we can call. First we will talk about this one and automatically you will understand the rest of the part. That you least bother about it. First understand what is the client and what is the server. You take personally the conversation between student and teacher. The conversation between student and teacher is the best example of networking only. This is a teacher, is a student, and a teacher is called a server side program. A student is called what? Client side program. The interaction between both of them is called what? Client server application development. So I want to ask you, what is a server side program? Can you answer my question? A server side program is one. What server side program will do, my dear students? Is one which will receive the client request, client side program request, clearly I will write it, which will receive the client side program request, comma, process the client side program request, process client side program request, process client side program request, and gives response back to which side program? Client side program. Response back to client side program. Are you able to get my point? A server side program is one which will receive the client side program request, process the client side program request, and gives response back to the client side program. Are you able to get it? Right. This is called server side program. Similarly, I will go for which one? Client side also I will take it. Client side program also I will discuss. Second program I will discuss client side program. What client side program will do? See the diagram. A client side program is one which will make a request to whom? Server side program, and gets the response back to the response from the server side program. Yes, client side program is one which will always makes a request to the server side program and gets the result from the server side program. That is called which program? Client side program. So I am writing a client side program is one. A client side program is one. I will write it, which will always make, which always makes a request to whom? Server side program always makes a request to what? Server side program, and obtains what? Response. Obtains response from where? Client side program. Right, server side program, correct. So server side program. So obtains response from where? Server side program. That is called which program? Client side program. Online students are able to follow me? So client side program, server side program, definition must be clear. Both of them are communicating to each other through what? Network. Client and server will be communicated over the network only. When the data is visiting over the network and going back to the network, the data will come in the form of what? Bytes. Bytes. End-to-end encryption taking place by default in the case of bytes data type. We'll see that in the library part of it. Anyhow, students, let me move to the subject. After that, next I need to go for some more terminology want to cover. Next, third definition I want to cover it. Definition of DNS. Definition of DNS. Did you understand DNS? Long ago, DNS, where? Domain name service. Okay. Now, in Oracle, Aniket is saying that you people are already outdated already. So you are almost tired. So 6 p.m. Python with Oracle, see how many examples are there. You open any program, you open it. Any program, you open it. I'll open it. You see that I said localhost. Complete programs you open localhost. I will open it where I taught you notes. Steps for development of what? I can't say anything. So Aniket, you are correct. So every program CX_Oracle, these are the steps. See that here. Every Python program must get the connection from database software. See that variable name is equal to CX_Oracle.connect of connection URL. Here I wrote it. Username, password, DNS, service ID. In place of DNS, I said IP address. Here you said explanation. DNS is nothing but a name of the physical machine where database server installed or resides. The default DNS of every computer is localhost. Explained already. IP address also explained. This is UC. That example I will carry as this. Because again and again explaining, because I am also a human being now. So daily explaining without remembering, it's a problem. Already 21 years education is over. Again you are daily listening and forgetting means when is that stop, students? So any server side program, if you want to develop it, it has to mention that in this machine, my server side program is residing. Suppose this is my server side program. Where it is available, for example, it is available in where? Wipro PC or Wipro ORG. This is called one organization name they are giving as a name of the mission. That name of the machine is containing some IP address. Some IP address is there. IP address. What is that? 198.168.168.0.1. This is called IP address. That means if any client-side program want to communicate with the server-side program, first you have to connect to the machine. Database also same explanation I said. The same wording will come to networking also is said. Before going to make your request to be processed, first you have to what? Connect. When you are going to dial the number, first it is you have to connect to your mobile number of your friend. After a connection is established, then words will be transmitted. Similarly, any kind of client-side program want to communicate with the server-side program, you must get what first? Connection to be obtained. Connection to be obtained. In order to connect it, in which machine my server-side program resides, that physical name of the machine is called what? DNS. Actually, this much time I should not explain. Already explained. In place of DNS, you can also mention what? IP address. I already said default IP address of the machine is called what? 127 dot. Even in my program was also used it. Loopback address we can call. Default IP address is also there. It is called a local host. So that part I am writing here. The DNS is nothing but name of the physical machine where server-side program resides. Where server-side program resides. Are you following me? The default DNS of every computer is localhost. So before reaching to my server-side program, first I must know what? In which machine my server-side program resides. That is known as what? DNS. What is the local IP address? Again, I want to give you definition of IP address. Fourth one, I need to go for what? Definition of IP address. So, Internet Protocol address. Already you know the full forms and all that I have already explained it. IP address is nothing but a name of the machine where your server-side program is residing. So, here, already explained thing only I am taking it. Because once you almost coming to the last but one topic means whatever I explain, you have to understand that. The IP address is nothing but an address of the physical machine where server-side program resides. Where server-side program resides. The default DNS, the default IP address of every machine, every computer is 127.0.1, which is known as what? Loopback address we can call. Are you able to follow? Loopback address we can call. So finally, I'm going to conclude it. If any client program want to communicate with what? Server-side program, what must be given? Some DNS must be given or IP address. That means in DNS, in some DNS, that is at local host place, what is the first server-side program 1, server-side program 2, server-side program 3. 3 programs are running. So client will go to where? Local host. How many server-side programs are there? 3. Which server-side program to be go? That is important or not? You are coming to Naresh IT. Naresh IT is called something like what? Local host. KVR is there, X is there, Y is there, Z is there, many faculties are there. Room number 1, room number 2, room number 3, room number 4. You are coming to local host. Everybody is coming to this place, but there is a port numbers are required. Port numbers is nothing but what? Like a classroom numbers. Getting? In Geo, Airtel, some network providers are there or not? Your numbers are acting like a port numbers. Are you getting my point? So what is the next definition I am saying? Here, definition of what? Port number I am going to say. Definition of port number I am going to say. Here, fifth one I am writing, because these definitions are very, very important. Port number I am going to say. What is the port number? When you go to your college, first year student will come to college, second year, third year, all 4 years people will come. But what is happening in that? First year student will go to room number 1, room number 2, room number 3. All years will go to respective room numbers or not? They will come to same local host only, same IP address only. But what is different? Port numbers are different. What is the port number? like a classroom numbers. That is called running locations. Residing locations are called what? DNS. Residing locations are called what? IP address. Residing locations. Port numbers are called what? Come on. Now I am going to say what is the port number. I am going to give you the clarity. A port number is nothing but what? A port number is a logical numerical ID. Logical numerical ID where server side program is running. Where server side program 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 resides is called IP address. Where server side program resides is called DNS. Either DNS or IP address. And port number is known as what? Running location is called port number. Residing location is called what? DNS. Tell me, last and final. In this case, Naresh IT is called what? DNS. In that, KVR is a server-side program running at room number 1, X running at room number 2, Y running at number 3, Z running at number 4. What these are all called? DNS is same. Is the port numbers are different or not? DNS is called what? Residing location. Port numbers are called what? Running location. Tell me, if a client-side program want to communicate, get the connection, what things must pass? Tell me. What things must pass to connect? Number 1 is called a DNS. Next, I need to pass port number. I need to pass. Number 1, DNS, nothing but a name of the machine. In that machine, what is the port number? 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or you can pass it what another way. IP address I need to pass, comma, what I can say? Port number. I can say either this first one I can pass or second one I need to pass so that I can get the connection. Are you getting? So port number is a logical numerical ID. Why? Because the port number can be changed very regularly. So earlier our room is running in some other place. Now it is running in some other location. But what is remains same? DNS remains same. But room number changed or not? Yes. Online students, if the definitions are clear, if the definitions are clear, I will go to next. How to develop the server side program? How to develop the client side program? I will go for this. So is the definitions are clear for all of you people, offline students? Are you okay? If you don't understand the concept, program you cannot understand. Danger. Clear? Huh? What is DNS? Residing location or running location? IP address? Residing. Port number? Running location. Okay now? Right. Go to the place. You are staying in Hyderabad. In one colony, in one house number. House number is called what? Like a port number. Like city or that colony is called what? A DNS. Try to get that. So let me go for, this is introduction part I just given it. Let me go to this place. Because once you know that wording, other things are dead easy for you. Now I am going to take it. Networks. Inside of it, I will save it. So in that case, I'm going to paste it. Next, I'm going to say same wording. I will go for what? Development of networking applications. I will go for it. So I'm going to take up here. Come on now. Development of network client server application. I will take client server applications. So as we know that how many applications are existing in client server? 2. One is a server side application. One more is client side application. Now I'm going to take up steps for developing which application? Server side application, server side programs. Steps for developing server side program. I'm taking now. Steps for developing server side program. I'm taking. Next step. Steps for developing which side program? Client side program. Easy. And how the two people are conversation is established? How the conversation is established between student and teacher. If you remember it, other things are dead easy. Now I am going to take up. And one more thing, one more word I want, one more topic also I will discuss parallelly. What is it? Module name. Module name for developing which application? Developing which application? Client server application. What is the module name for development of client server application? Socket. For 1 or 2 minutes, I'll speak about the socket. Just the module name for developing what? For developing which application? Client server application. Client server application is socket. Socket. See, students, can you tell me what is socket? Whatever you know, you tell me. English meaning of socket, you tell me enough. Don't know socket? Electrical socket, okay. Good. At least you look at electrical socket, your charging is there now. Socket. What did you observe when you were charging? 2 pins are there for charging, right? One pin will do what? USB. You say something which is general knowledge. I don't like it. I want subject. USB, that this. You may be correct answer. I don't know that. IP address plus port number is equal to socket. Who is this? Naveen Kumar? Is it a formula or what, mom? Naveen Kumar. IP address plus port number is equal to socket. Okay. Very good. Mind blowing this is. Okay. Sri Lakshmi, one pin is connected to mobile, another pin is connected to the board. Okay, correct. She is giving clarity to the people. Now at least tell me now. She gave very good clarity. Come on. Ajwala is saying to establish the communication links. Good. Good. Come on, boys. You are very good students, but subject is not there. You are all very sincere guys. If anybody look at you, they will give job directly. But when they give the task, you will not do that. By looking at all are very sincere only, all boys and girls. But only sincerity, no meaning. Some fire must be there. You are like what? If they slap on one this side, you also you be beat here also. But that much good you are. But what is the use? Tell me. Charging you are keeping or not? One keeping in the board and one more pin you keep to the mobile. One receiver and one sending now. Sender, receiver. What is that is called? Transmission of the data. To transmission of the data, two ends, what two plugs are there or not? One plug is receiving, another plug is sending. That two-end communication is done by the socket. What is the socket? Socket existing at receiving side, socket existing at sending side also. That is known as what? Socket. I am speaking. What is this? Is called sender. What you will do? You will receive. To send it, socket is received. To receive it also, socket is received. So socket is existing at my side. Socket is existing at your side also. Who am I? Server. My socket is called which socket? Server socket. Sender as well as receiver also. Sending what? Response. Receiving what? Request. What you will do? You will receive my response and you will send your request. So your socket is called client socket. My socket is called what? Server socket. Both the sockets will receive and send. That's why socket is existing in how many sides? That's why socket is what? Object. Bidirectional communication object. Socket is one of the bidirectional communication object. Bidirectional means both client and server. See, To prepare that definition, we need to understand so many things. Come on to the point. First thing, server side program, who will exist? Socket. Client side, who will exist? So in client side, what should I create? Object of socket. Object of client side also, what should I create? Why do you create socket in both the sides? Receiving and sending and receiving and sending. Receiving at client side is called what? Response. Sending is called request. Server side is request. Receiving is called what? Request receiving. Sending means what? Response sending. Will you get that idea now? So socket will exist one side or both the sides. So socket is called one type of function. Present into which module? Socket module. Socket module. So to use my socket function, I have to import which module? What is the first step? That's all. Import what? Socket. Import socket. Step number 1, that is. Step number 1. Steps rasanu. Step number 2. Actually, you can easily answer my questions. Step number 3. Step number 3. Step number 4. Step number 4. Step number 5. Step number 6. Step number 6. Tell me. First step. Maybe 7th step required, I will write it. But 6 steps I will finish. But if anything required, I will go for it. Next, what should I do? Create an object of socket. Create an object of socket. In how many sides I will create socket? 2 sides. One is at which side? One more is at which side? You tell me which socket creation is first. Good. Server socket is important because when server is ready, then what can be done? Client can communicate. Okay, good. You are up to the mark. Okay, when you create a server at which side? Server. How my PVM knows that it is a server socket? How my PVM knows that socket is a client side socket? If my client side socket is connecting to what? Server side socket, my client is known as what? Client socket. If my server socket is binding with certain machine and certain port number, it is called what? Server socket. A person is an employee in the Naresh IT is called what? Server. A faculty is also a student. Student is there. One more person is also there. Me for example. I am binding with what? Naresh IT. I am also socket. You are also socket. Right or not? Both of them are human beings. One human being connecting to me. One human being is giving the data. What are the both human beings type? One type is server program. One type is what? Client program. So any socket is a server side socket. It has to run in one machine. Plus it has to run at certain port number. Getting or not? So I am writing one important point. What is this now? Create an object of what? Socket. How to create an object of socket? I will tell you. Socket idea is there now. Socket is saying as what? Sender receiver. That's why it is called what? A bidirectional communication object. Tell me. Here also I will do what? Both the steps will be coming at which side also? Here also both the steps will be coming. Here also both the steps will come. But what is the difference? Create an object of socket and come on, binds with BINDS. I written capital letter. Binds with come on mom, certain machine and what? Port number. Certain machine means you must specify what mom? DNS or what? IP address you must use it. Then it is called what? Server socket. Create an object of socket and connect to what? Connected to what? Server side program. Create an object of socket and connect it to whom? In order to connect it to the server socket, what you must pass it? DNS. And what you will pass what? IP address you will pass it, students. IP address you will pass it, comma, what you will pass? Port number. What is the difference? Here you are binding, here you are getting what? Connector. You are going to say what? Connector. Getting Are you getting? Connects. I'm going to say connected to the server side program. Connected to the server side program. Every client side program create an object of socket and connect it to the server side program. Every server side program create an object of, I'll write it. Every server side program creates an object of what? Creates an object of what? Object of socket and binds with a certain machine and a port number. Getting my point? Import what? Socket. Import socket. Every server side program create an object of socket and binds with a certain machine and what? Port number. Clarity is there? Okay. After that, students, one important point. Okay, it is connected. Now I'm going to say, after binding with that server socket will have certain restriction. Suppose Zoom you take it. Zoom, for example, you take it as Zoom. Zoom you take it. When Naresh IT is buying the authorization from Zoom, they will ask what will be the capacity of your link we are providing. Is it 200 people capacity, 500 people capacity? What link? What type of response? What type of capacity link you want? Depends on the number of students capacity. We'll provide the links for that. I mean, when you are developing server-side program, you have to configure the server-side program in such a way that to how many clients you are communicating. We are taking the link here. Beginning days, we are having almost 200 and almost 300 students used to attend the online class. Slowly, when they are coming to end, they are going to underground, that ground, this ground, they are going. Are you following me? Like that, what we are trying to say is, any server-side program you are creating, that server-side program must be configured in such a way that to how many clients it can respond. Are you getting it? So, I am going to write it. Every server-side program must be configured in such a way that to how many clients server side program can communicate. So to how many clients the server side program can communicate. Did you understand this? This is compulsory. If you don't configure it, server side program will not respond to the client at all. This is one of the drawback in the network programming of Python. As on today, you take Gmail. Is there any Gmail is providing restriction? Gmail is providing what? Any number of clients can get the email. Email creation can be done. They can get the response from where? Gmail server also. Are they providing any restriction? Now, some lakhs and millions and trillions of people can communicate with what? Gmail server. Are they providing any restriction? This is one of the limitation on the network programming side. Getting my point? Every server-side program must be configured in such a way that to how many clients server-side program can communicate. This is one drawback. Okay. After binding it, after configuring, who is ready? What is ready? Server-side program is ready. For what purpose? For receiving request. A faculty is appointed. A faculty is configured in such a way that he has to teach both offline and online. They configured it. Now what is ready? Start the batch. That is nothing but what? Once a server-side program is bind with a local host and the port number is called something like 7888. Some port number you give it. I will tell you in the coding how to do it. The server-side program is ready to accept what request? client side program request. So coming to the point back, every server side program, come on, must accept, I'm writing in caps, must accept what side program? Client side program request. Client side program request. Client side program request. Are you following me? Every server side program must accept the client side program request. Every server side program must accept the client side program request. Are you getting my point? Every server side program must accept the client side program request. The word called what? Accept. Simple, ma. As a faculty, I was available in Naresh IT, configured to online and offline students. Now I'm ready at server side. What I will do? Every server side program accept the student request. I accepted your doubt. What I will do next? I accepted your doubt. So I will read your doubt or not. A postman gave a letter to me. I accepted the letter. In the letter, what is there I need to read or not? Every server side program must read, see that, must read what? Must read client side program, client side program, client side program, what? Request. What he sent in the request packet, what is there in that request packet, I will read it. I accepted it. But what is there in that accepted packet? I must read the client side program request and do what? Process. And do what? Process. You read and then process. Are you following me? You are reading and processing. Next what? After processing, what is ready? Result is ready. What server side program should give? Every server side program must give response. Must give response to whom? Client side program. Simple. I will read your doubt, student. I will accept your doubt. I will read your doubt and I will prepare the answer. Faculty, server side program give answer to the student. Getting? Step number 7. Step number 7. Easy. Next also you made a request. Accepted. Next also I processed it. Next also I gave. So repeat step 4, 5, 6, 7 until all client requests are completed. Getting, friends? So every server side program must repeat. Every server side program must repeat. Step number 4, comma what? Step number 5 and step number 6. Every server side program must repeat step 4, step 5 and step 6 until all client side program requests completes. Are you following me? Until all client side program requests completed, I can say. Did you understand? 7th is not a point. 7th is just showing that it is repeated. Is the steps are clear? Confused? Clear or confused? As a teacher, what I am doing, you just remember. It is more easy. Now, as a student, what do? You tell me. Tell me now. Import what? SAR is also socket, student is also socket. Both of them are sockets only. But one socket is receiver and sender. Another socket is also receiver and sender. Create a socket at which side? Client side. Client side socket will do what? Connect it. Server side socket will do what? Bind and configure. Every client side socket will connect to what? Easy. Step number 3, please. Step number 3, please. Tell me. Import what? Come on, now I am going to do. Come on. Every server client side program. Here I will write it. Every client side program creates an object of what? Socket and connect to the server side program. Step number 3. Connected also. Next, every server client side program must send the request, to whom? Right, must send the request to the server side program. Okay. Once request is sending to the server side program, please remember it will go to step number 4 or not. Step number 4 in the server side process the request or not. Step number 6 at server side give the response back to the client side or not. And what he will do, step number 4. Every client side program must receive the response. Must receive the response from where? Right. Must receive the response from where? Server side program. Every client side program must receive the response from server side program. Step number 5. What is the step number 5? Repeat step number 3 and 4 until all client requests are completed. Every server side program must repeat. What is this now? Step number 4. And what next? Step number 5. Until all client side program requests completed. I hope, I think you got my clarity on this area. Got clarity on this? For this, how to implement programmatically? How a teacher and a student is communicating? How a student and a teacher is communicating? Student and teacher is communicating. Server side program, client side program. Teacher is residing at certain mission, binding with certain mission, configured to certain students. Every server side program is ready to accept the request. After accepting, read the request, process it, and give the response back to the. And server side program always accepting, reading, processing, giving the response. What student will do? Connect to the faculty and getting connection established. Every server client side program must do what? Sending a request. That request is processed there and receiving the response from the server side program. Very simple. Online students, if you say, sir, clear, then I'll go to the module name. Dead easy. Go to the networks. In this notes, I'll save it. Steps for development of this. If it is clear, I already made it ready. Module name for development of what? Client server application. What is the module name? Socket. Now I am going to talk about functions in. Now I am going to start with functions in socket module. Functions in socket module I am going to explain. Functions in socket module. Very easy, students. See that. What are the functions are available? Roughly, I will say. Roughly. Number 1 is called socket off. Next, I will take binds. Next, I will take listen. 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 Next, I will say, accept. Next, I will say RECV. Next, I will say send. Next, RECV. Next, send. Next, I am going to say connect. How many? 7? 7. These are the functions available in where? Socket module. First point I am going to talk about. What is the first point? Socket off. This one I am going to take up. First, I am going to talk about the socket. Shall we start off? Socket I am going to talk about. What is the socket is? I am going to give you the description. Very simple, students. You take a syntax. Syntax I am going to take up. You see what is the syntax. Variable name is equal to socket dot socket. Easy, mom. If I write the statement at which side program? Client side. It is called which socket? Client socket. If I create the same statement in server side program, it is called server socket. That is only the difference as far as this statement is concerned. I can create in both the sides. So it is called what? Both the sides socket is existing. That's what is known as what? Bidirectional communication object we can call. Understood, students? Now I am going to take up here. This function is used for creating an object of what? Socket. Creating an object of socket. Here, variable name. Next line I will write it. Here, variable name is an object of socket class. You know already. Obj is equal to filter of function name comma iterable object. This obj is an object of what? Filter. Class filter. Map object is equal to map of function name comma iterable object. What is that object? Map object. So this is filter. Will create filter object. Map function will create map object. Socket function will create what? Socket object. So here variable name is an object of what? Socket. If we create an object of socket in which side program? Server side program. Then we call it as which socket? Server socket. Next, if we create an object of socket in which side program? Client side program, then we call it as what? Client socket we can call. Are you able to get me? Right. So socket object, I'm writing an object of socket acts as bidirectional communication object. Bidirectional communication object. Why bidirectional communication object? Because it resides both at client and server side program. Because it resides at both client and server side programs. I hope you are getting me. Both at client and what? Server side programs. Did you understand, students? Now, create an object of it. Example, if you want to take it, S is equal to socket dot what? Socket of. What is this S is here? Object of socket. I will write both of them at which side? Both client side I will write as well as server side. Okay now? Shall I move forward? Yes. So socket is done. Now I'll go for next which function? Binds I will take it. Second function I am going to take it. Binds. So second function I am going to take binds. There I am going to take it, students. Easy. Now I am going to take up. There I am writing. What is the syntax you observe it? Here I am writing syntax. What is the syntax now? Socket obj dot binds of binds. When I am using binds means definitely client or server. Binds of, you must pass it in where you know tuple part you need to pass it. Tuple, like a tuple you need to pass. What should I write there, students? DNS oblique, what I should write it? IP address, anyone you pass it, comma, what you will write? Port number you write it. See how I am representing. I am representing in where? Tuple. You should not write it without this tuple. You should not write just like removing this bracket. You should not write like this, because binds function will take only one object only. That's why you have to pass in the form of what? Tuple. Clarity is there? Right. Remember that. Now I will write the example or the explanation. This function is used for binding. What? Server socket or socket object. Binding socket object as which socket? Server socket at certain DNS or IP address and what? Port number. And it is called which side program? Server side program. Because of the binding at certain port number and DNS or IP address, we call it as which side program? Server side program. Example, you see, s.bind. S.bind. Bind or binds? Bind. Binds, no, bind. Bind, not binds, no, bind only. It is bind. S.bind of what I am writing, see, localhost, comma what? 888. You pass your own port number. Take any number. And I am advising pass 4-digit number. For example, if you go to Oracle, Oracle is also having one port number, students. They reserved already in the internet. 1521 is a predefined port number. And a certain protocols are having certain port numbers already in the internet. Of course, we need not to worry about it. And when you are working in any kind of networking application, your team leaders will tell you which port number should be taken for your organization. So here I am saying that take the port number like that. If that too, it matters a lot when your system is containing internet connection. If no internet connection is there, you can pass any number, no issue. Are you getting? So this is called what, binding. So S is called server socket, client socket. That's all. This is about which function? Bind. Similarly, I will go for what? I will go for next function. Third function, I will go for it. Very, very important. Third one is called what? Listen. Listen. What is this listen function is? You see our step students. In this case, every server-side program must bind with certain PC and port number. Every server-side program must be configured in such a way that to how many clients the server-side program, to how many clients server-side program can communicate. In this case, I'm going to take up, students. Listen also going to be same. Syntax I'm going to say. What is this now? Come on. Socket object. Which is socket? Server socket object. That too. Socket object. If you want, I will write it. Server socket. Here also I will write it. Server socket. Here also I will write it. Server socket object dot. What is this now? Listen of what I'll write it. Number of clients. Number of what? Clients. I'll write it. Number of clients. What this function is? This function is used for configuring. I will just copy down that part. Is used for configuring to how many clients? You use it for configuring in such a way that configuring the server side program to how many clients? Configuring the server side program in such a way that to how many clients server side program can communicate. Did you understand? Got it? So if you don't configure it, it cannot take any default number. You have to write compulsory that part. So S dot listen of some 2 I will say. What that 2 means? 2 clients it can communicate. That is called which function? Listen function. I will take next one more. One more I will take it. Careful students. Try to follow me. Fourth function. Hot for thread. This part. Accept function I am taking. Accept function. Very, very important. Let me close this. This is very serious kind of thing. Accept. How you will understand, I don't know, but I want to get it. Here, what is happening? Here, what is CS? What is CS? Client socket. What is this is called here? SA. This is called SA, right or not? SA means what? server socket. Tell me now, easily, when client is communicated, got the connection, you send your request. What server socket will do? Accepting. Whenever I accept it, at my server side, when I accept it, what is completely available? When I receive the mail, completely client side object is present at my place. What is the client side object? ఇప్పుడే కదా చెప్పింది client socket అనే. Client socket, CS. That entire data is available with me. When I accept it, what is coming at this side? CA is coming. CA no CS. CS is coming. Accepting client socket, accepting the client request is nothing but getting an object of what side program? Client side program. It is available CS with me. From the CS only I can read the data. Are you getting? Accepting the client side program is nothing but see steps here. Every server side program must accept the client side program request. Whenever I say accept it, it is going to give you two results are going to come. So I am writing here socket object dot, what is this? Accept. Which socket object this is? Server socket object dot accept. When it returns two things. One is client socket object, comma, and a completely client side data is coming here. Client side data coming means what? That entire object will come as this, comma, its address is also going to come, students. Client socket object, client socket address also will come. Why client socket address is required? Because when I'm going to give the response, it will go to that address only. Simple. When I receive the mail, I will say reply now. When I say reply, what is the mail ID will come automatically coming or not? So I'm going to get what? Data plus address I'm going to get it. That is a very important. When I accept it from my server, how many things I'm getting? Total data in the form of what? Client socket object plus client socket address also will come. Why? When I give the reply, client socket will carry the result to the particular address what is coming across. Are you getting my point? Now, I will go for what is this function? This function is used for accepting the client side program request. Accepting the client side program request. And this function returns. A function can return more than one value. In functions only, I can write a single variable. That single variable is a tuple type that contains two values, or otherwise multi-line assignment I can write it. Returns an object of what? Socket created at which side? Created at client side, and its address. Address is no issue. By default, it is available. This is what is the confusion to the student. Getting your data is nothing but what? Indirectly, I have your object with me. Yes or no? Indirectly, I have object with you. From your object only, I will read the data. Getting or not? Online students, are you following? Going on typing, but are you getting me? Good. So, regularly in touch with the subject, they will understand. Only looking at without typing, it's difficult to get it. So, after finishing, the most important heart for this thing. Example. What is that now? Yes dot accept it. What is returning? I'll take some variable CS comma CA. Some variables. You take your own variables, no issue. Yes dot accept it. What is the CS? Object of client. Available at which side? Server side. So in the server will read the data from where only? CS. CS. So here CS is an object of client socket. Client contains and it contains which data? Client side program data. Client side program data. Client side program data. Are you following me? Right, done. So coming to the point back. Bind you understood, listen you understood, accept also you got it. Clarity is there, huh? Right. Now I am going to introduce one more kind of function. One more kind. All these things I'll explain through coding. Multiple examples will do. Next I'm going to say fifth function is called RECV. Every function is important, students. RECV of. See the syntax of it. See the syntax of it. Here I am going to write it. I am going to write it. RECV. Who is doing what? You tell me. RECV used at two sides. Tell me RECV where I will use it. RECV I will use it which side? Server side. During what time? Request receiving, right or not? One more RECV used at which side? At which time? Response receiving. Request receiving? Response receiving. Okay. Now, when I go for receiving, generally, when client is sending something to the server, server side program is receiving. In the network programming of Python, you have to have one more limitation is coming. You are supposed to specify how much amount of data you are receiving. Minimum, it is supposed to specify 1024. If you have more than that, you have to have what? Doubling this, 2048. If you still have more than that, doubling that, that is called a 4096. Suppose if you say 1500, 1500 will not take, it will take what? 409. If you say 3000, 3000 will not take, what it will take? 4096 will take. Did you understand? This is also one limitation, student. This is also one limitation. So, coming to the syntax, what is this now? Which object I will write it? Socket object dot what? RECV. This socket object can be either a client side socket I can write, server side socket I can write. Why? Because both of them are doing what? Receiving only. So I will say RECV. RECV. Which side I am writing? Server side I am writing. Server side already what I got it? What I got it? CS. So which socket I will write it? Come on, students. Client socket. Accepted now? Through what I accepted? This is called which object? Server socket object dot accept. I got it what side? Total client object is coming at which side? Server. In the server, what I will do? Client side object. Your object dot. I am receiving your data. How much I am passing here? 1024 you can pass. 2048 I can pass. 4096 I can pass. That is called doubling the data. Are you following me? Dot what? By default, this will give you data. Variable name I can write it. Variable name I can write it. This variable name, what is this function is doing? This function is used for receiving the request of what? Client side program at which side program? Server side program, and also used at which side program? Client side program for receiving response. Receiving what? Receiving the response. Receiving the response from which side program? server side program. Server side program. Are you able to follow? This function is used for receiving the request of client side program at server side program. Also used at client side program for receiving the response from server side program. In both the sides, what I will use only? Why? Server side, what I got it already? Client side socket. Client side also will use client side object only. Getting up? So, students, so I will write it. Example if I take it. Example if I take it. And one more thing, they end up this function returns an object of which type? Bytes. Returns an object of class bytes. Bytes data is understandable or not understandable? So you have to convert it. Because I am receiving now. Receiving means finally I am going to get it. That time and convert it into what? STR data. First you convert into STR data. Like that they gave, because once this variable name is coming into which object? Bytes object of what? Bytes, and convert into STR data by using, they gave one function. What is the function? They got it in which type? Bytes type. You have to decode it, decoding. By using which function? Decode function. Present in which class? Bytes class object. What object is coming? Variable name, bytes. This variable name is an object of which type? Dot, what I will write up? Decode. Decode will return which data? Yes, that's all. In other words, if you want, I can write it. What is this now? STR data is equal to, what is this now? Variable name dot decode. Instead of worrying about it, I can write simply what? I can say here itself. Which data I will write it? Tell me. STR data. Dot what? Decode. What this will give you? Bytes. Dot what? Will give you what data? Further you want STR data into float of bool, etc. You can use int of float of bool of etc. So decode function compulsory you have to use it. Decoding, encoding is compulsory. Getting or not? So see that once again. Once the request is sending over the network, what is happening here? Encode. What is the function name I am using? Encode. Once you receive it, what are you doing now? Decode. Decoding is processing. Again, you are giving what? Response. What are you doing again? Encode. Encode off. It is receiving. What you will do again? Decoding, encoding. Decode will get it into what data? And STR data you are going to encode to which type? That's all. When it is flying in the network, it is in bytes. When it is receiving to the ending, it is supposed to be decoded. Did you understand encoding and decoding? Okay. Understand, students? Now I am writing STR data is equal to what, you know? Of course, same. Even example also same. I can write the same wording example also. In the coding part, I will show you the result of it. At present, don't worry about the result type. Receiving, RECV got it. RECV got it. Now I'm going for what? Send. So I'm going to take it send. So see, students, how simple it is. Now sixth one I am going to introduce. What is my function name? Send off. Now I'm going to take it send off. So get it. Now see here, students. Send off I am going to take it. Don't take much time. Take this example once again. Say request. Request. Sending or receiving? Sending. Sending. What is this response? Sending. During this period, during this receiving, what are you doing also? Decode. During this send, which data is sending actually? STR data. What are you going to do it? Encode. Encode is present in which data? STR data. Converted into what? Bytes. Here also. Apply what? Apply what, ma? Encode of. So receive is called what? So send decoding, encoding, decoding, encoding. So come to the send now. How simple it is. Start out. Tell me the syntax. What is the syntax? In this place, 1 minute you see. Server side program is sending. Through whom I am sending? Through CA. CS I got it or not? Through that only I am sending the data back. So I will say here, sending and receiving always with what? Yes. So I will take up here, variable name is not there. Client side object dot. What is this now? Send off. Which data? Any numerical data is there. Convert into which type? STR. By using STR of. STR data. In STR data, there is a function name called what? Encode of. This will convert into which type? Bytes. That bytes can be sent by using what? Send. Are you following me? So, I am writing. First, I will write it. This statement, I'll write it, is converting what data? STR data into which type? Into an object of which type? Bytes type. Bytes type. And encode function present in which object? STR object. That means server side result always may be there in into, float, bool, etc. Convert into which type? STR type. Server type data may be in any type. Convert into which type? STR type. And call what type? Encode of. Now I will write it. Send function is used for sending request of what? Client. Request of client side program. Request of client side program to what? Server side program. And it can also be used. It can also be used at where? It can also be used at which side, ma? Client side. Client side program for receiving what? Response from server side program. That's all. And see this now. With what mechanism? Sending means encoding, receiving means decoding. So here, example, same to same. So once you send it, same to same, I will write it. If you want that, I say here, for example, I'll write it something like STR of 1000, for example. 1000 is a numerical value. For example, if I write 1100 dot encode, it will give error. What is the type of 100? Int. Int does not contain what function? Encode. Do what? STR of 100 student. STR of 100 you say. Dot what? Encode of. Are you following me? STR of encode. Client socket object dot. Send. STR of 100 dot encode of. Getting the data. This is related to what? Send. Last function I will go for what? Connect. Connect I am going to introduce. So simple, easy, observe it. Say seventh one. Connect function I will say. Connect function used at which side? Purely client side. Syntax. Tell me. Client socket object dot. Come on. Connect of DNS. In the tuple you need to pass ma. DNS. Within the double quotes. DNS. What is this? IP address. Comma. Port number. Port number I will write it. This function is used for connecting, used for obtaining connection, obtaining the connection from server side program by the client side program, Are you able to follow? This is called one kind of function called this one. What is the example, ma? You can write example, I can write it. So example is, what is this now? Client socket object dot connect of, I'll say here within that local host, I can say port number is 888. You can write it. One more way you can do it. What is another way here? Writing like this. Connect of 127.127.0.0.1 888 is done. Are you able to follow? Connect off like this. These are the functions. And this part in the next tomorrow's class, I'll tell you this application development, I'll go for it. Programs I will explain tomorrow with this module what I explained it. Okay now? This I'll upload it. Try to read the notes properly so that program can be easily understandable. Okay now? So I'll stop the class, read the steps, read the introduction, and then coming to the tomorrow's class so that you can understand more perfectly. So if you don't read and if you come, what I'll write the code tomorrow, you cannot understand. You have to read this first step. Then only you can follow it. Okay. So I'll stop this. Okay, students. Thank you. Good day.